Let's give him a hand. And yeah.
And this is the most beautiful day of the year, where we get to celebrate what Jesus did for us, and it's not based on anything that we do. I love that. I love that we get to come here and we get to gather online, we get to gather here in house, and we get to celebrate the greatest gift humanity has ever gotten. The greatest gift. And I've gotten some good gifts, right? Like I've gotten some great Christmas gifts, I've gotten some great birthday gifts, but the greatest gift I have ever received is Jesus' resurrection. The greatest gift. And I think like we need to kind of sit back and ponder the beauty of what he did for us. To celebrate the beauty of what actually took place that day. The beauty that Jesus died. And oftentimes when we look at death, obviously we don't typically celebrate death, but in this situation we do. And this is kind of this weird paradigm shift for us of we celebrate death because of what we receive through the victory of the resurrection. You know, Jesus is alive today. Jesus died and he's back and he's alive today, and we get to celebrate that today as a family. His life, the greatest gift that we have ever received. And I'm just so excited for Easter. This is like my favorite Sunday of the year. Easter Sunday, because again, we celebrate what God has done. I believe that today's service is going to be, I think, impactful for all of us. You know, I believe that God has given a word to me today that I believe it's already impacted my life, and I pray that it impacts all of our lives today. You know, God, I think, has something beautiful to say to us today. And I don't know if you've ever had a moment where you've had expectations that were not met. If you've ever had a moment where you had expectations of somebody or something, and those expectations were clearly not met. And there's this story of back in 2014, there was a lot of stuff happening in the country of Ukraine. There was a lot of wars, and so much was going on. And the Pope Francis, he decided that one thing that they would do, and they've been doing this for a long time, is that they were going to have this moment where they would want to bring peace, and they had this big celebration at St. Peter's Square. Like thousands of people showed up, and he's sitting there and he's talking, he's sharing his thoughts, he's sharing his words, and he starts praying. And then like the exclamation point for him was, you know what we need to do to really celebrate this peace is we need to release some doves. We need to release these peace doves and release them so all these people here, all these people who are watching, this is on video, and then we're going to release these doves. So he gets a couple of children and they say, let's release these doves to celebrate peace, bring peace to the country, bring peace to the world. We're going to do this together. Not moments later, literally, I think we have a picture of it, the birds got attacked. Like I'm telling you, like moments later, a seagull comes and starts to carry away one of these doves, right? And then literally another moments later, a crow comes and starts pecking at the other dove. And remember, there's like tens of thousands of people watching this peaceful, glorious moment as the peace they thought was coming didn't actually come. Like I can't even imagine, right? You're sitting there, the Pope is there, right? Like it's the Pope, and you're so excited, and all of a sudden these doves are getting attacked. You know, I think the Pope had high expectations for what those doves were going to bring to the world. The peace that was going to come, yet his expectations weren't met. The funniest thing about this is they don't use doves anymore. I was reading this week. They use balloons. Because they're like, you know what, like we cannot have this happen. I think in 2004, I was researching this a lot, but I think it was 2004, they released doves and one of the doves flew right back into the building. And all of a sudden the Pope's just laughing, like this is so funny. But anyway, the expectation that he had for peace to come through these doves did not happen. You know, and today I've titled my talk, Faithful Now. So I think all of us, we've seen God be faithful in the past. You know, whether we're believers or not, whether we have Jesus as a part of our life, as a part of our story, I believe we've all had moments where we've had great things happen to us and for us. But I think a lot of us, we remember what God has done, but we're sitting right now in whatever we're sitting in, and we say, God, where are you now? God, I saw you move then. I saw you move mountains. I saw you break chains, but where are you now? We want more of Jesus, and we feel like he's distant. We feel like he's not even there. You know, and as we look at this resurrection story, there's this one portion that I want to talk about today, and I believe it's such a powerful portion. It says, it's John 20, verse 10 to 13. This is what it says. Then the disciples went back to their homes, but Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. This is Mary Magdalene, weeping outside the tomb. And as she wept, she stopped to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had lain, one at the head and one at the feet. And they said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" And she said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." I do not know where they have laid him. Now imagine with me, you've just watched in horror as this guy you thought would save you was brutally beaten. Imagine you watch him as he's hanging on a cross. You can barely recognize him. He's on a cross in between two thieves and two criminals, and there's Jesus in the middle. Imagine watching that. With a crown of thorns, he's bleeding out of his head. He's bleeding out of his body, and you watch this guy in front of you dying. And then imagine you're sitting there, and also you see him take his last breath. The man you thought was going to save you, the man you had seen do miraculous things in your life, was no longer breathing. And imagine the next day, or on 2 days later, you head to the tomb to just kind of pay some respects, and just kind of sit there. And to your dismay, the tomb is empty. And why are you weeping? She's weeping because she's desperate. We'd be confused, we'd be fearful. We wouldn't know what to do. And kind of the thought I have from this story is we're desperate for answers. No, Mary Magdalene, she's desperate for answers in this moment. And remember the guy that she saw, the trauma she would have experienced from seeing him in the space that he was in, and then going to the tomb and it's empty. She was desperate for answers. It says, she said, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." I'm desperate for answers. Please just tell me where he is so I can go find him. Please just tell me so that I can give him the burial, so I can celebrate what he did in my life even more. She's desperate for answers, because I think oftentimes when desperate moments come to us, our first response is always, "God, where are you?" My wife and I, we had our first baby this year, and early in the pregnancy, there's multiple moments where we didn't know if our daughter was going to survive. We didn't know. And I remember, both of us were sitting there like, "God, where are you in this moment?" I think all of us, we have desperate moments where pain is there, where fear is there, where we're confused. Even if we've seen God move in miraculous ways, we're still confused. We don't know. We're like, "God, where are you?" And Mary had this happen. If we go to Luke chapter 8, verse 2, and it says this, "And also some woman who had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities, Mary called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out." This is a woman with a past. This is a woman with a lot of pain. This is a woman who had been treated so poorly for her entire life. She had 7 demons. Jesus comes and casts 7 demons out of her. That's a miracle. She had seen God move. She had seen Jesus move in many ways in her life. Yet she's standing here in front of an empty tomb with questions of, "Where are you? I thought you were going to save me. I saw you move, but you were so faithful then. But where are you now? Where are you now in this moment?" I think all of us, we have a similar question. She had a painful history. Jesus had brought in her rest. Jesus had brought in her peace. Jesus had brought in healing to her life. And now he was gone. His body was no longer where she watched them roll the stone in front. His body was gone. I think a lot of us, we're asking that question maybe right now in this moment. "Jesus, where are you?" God, where are you right now? We're desperate for answers. Where are you in my marriage? Where are you in the life of my teenage children? Where are you in my business? Where are you in my income? Where are you in my finances? Where are you in our province? Where are you in our country? Where are you in our world? And we have these questions. And I know we have these questions because a lot of us, I've seen so many of believers, so many of my friends posting on social media, where is Jesus right now? We don't see him. We're confused. Why is there all these things happening to us and around us? Jesus, where are you? We're desperate for answers. You know, going on in the story, John 20, verse 14. Having said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing, but she did not know it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you've carried him away, just tell me where you've laid him and I will go take him away. I'll go deal with the body. I don't want you to have to deal with this. I can deal with this." My second thought kind of out of this story is that she was blinded by despair. You know, Jesus is standing right in front of her. The guy who she had walked with, who she'd been with, the guy that she had seen do miracle after miracle after miracle is standing in front of her, yet she does not see him. I don't know about you, like when I cry, and sometimes I'll be honest, I cry. I just cried earlier today. We cry. When I look out, my vision is blurred. Right? Like our vision is blurred because of our tears. Our vision is blurred because of our pain. Our vision is blurred because of our circumstance. So Mary sees Jesus, but does not recognize him. Because she's blinded by the pain. She's blinded by the despair. She's blinded by the circumstance. She can't see past the pain. She can't see past the circumstance. She was blinded by her pain. The very man who had brought her freedom was gone. And not only is she grieving his death, she's also grieving he's not there anymore. His body is gone. She can't even see Jesus right in front of her. I think for a lot of us, we're in that same situation. We're blinded by the despair in our life. We're blinded by the pain in front of us. We feel like we're on the side of a wall that goes 100 feet in the air and Jesus is on the other side of that wall. We feel like our pain is bigger than the cross sometimes. We feel like our circumstance is bigger than the resurrection. Sometimes we think that. I don't think we do this on purpose, and I think we know that it's not true, but when pain is right in front of us, when circumstance is hard, when we don't see Jesus, we feel like he's on the other side of a wall, and we don't have the tools to climb the wall. That's how we feel. You know, we feel like, I don't know if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon. My wife and I went to the Grand Canyon. Has anyone been to the Grand Canyon before? It's like one of the most beautiful, scary too, though, places. Like, I have a baby now. I'm not probably taking her there, right? Like, probably not going to happen. But we feel like we're at the bottom of this canyon where we can barely see the top. And we feel like Jesus is standing at the top. And we're like, how do I get there? We feel like the pain is too big. We feel like the circumstance, the despair, the fear, the confusion is too big. And we feel like we can't see Jesus. We're blinded by our fear. Because we feel despair when something or someone we thought would be there isn't there anymore and there's no hope for something better. You know, that's how Mary felt in this moment. She felt there's no hope. The beautiful thing, though, I love about this is that hope was standing right in front of her, but she couldn't see it. And I think for all of us, we need to wipe our tears away and see that Jesus has been there the whole time. He's standing right in front of us saying, here I am. I am right here. The writer of Psalm 34 says this, when the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and delivers them out of all of their troubles. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves a crushed in spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of all. All. Not some, not a couple, not a few. everyone, God will bring us out of. It might not be the way that we think he's going to do it, but he will bring us out of all. He keeps all his bones, not one of them is broken. Jesus is near the brokenhearted. Jesus saves a crushed spirit. Jesus is in the business of delivering us from our circumstance. That's what Jesus is in the business of. That's why he went to the cross. To cover all the sin that we do every day. To cover all the pain, to cover all the circumstance, to say, guess what? I conquered death, here I am. Hope is right in front of us. Hope is right in front of us. And this story just gets better. John 20, verse 16. Jesus said to her, Mary. And she turned. I just want to stop right there. Jesus said to her, Mary. Jesus said to her, Mary. What's beautiful is that's all he said. Mary. He called her by her name. Jesus knows your story. Jesus knows your name. Jesus knows your circumstance. Jesus knows your fear. Jesus knows the most traumatic parts of your story. He knows them. She didn't recognize him until she heard him say her name, Mary. She turned and said to him in Aramaic, Rabboni, which means teacher. Jesus said to her, do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father, but go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God. Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, I've seen the Lord, and he had said these things to me. Mary. You know, my third thought from this story is Jesus' response to our fear and our circumstance is fueled by love. It's fueled by love. She only recognized Jesus when he said her name, and I'm sure he said it in such a way that she just was overcome by the love that he had for her. Like again, imagine with me, you've seen you're traumatized by the pain you saw this guy go through, and you're crying at the cemetery. You're crying, you're weeping, you can't see anything. Jesus is in front of you. You hear him say your name. He says your name. He says, guess what? I stepped out of the grave and here I am right in front of you. Hope is here right now. Love is here right now in this moment. Peace is here in this moment. You don't have to cry anymore. You don't have to weep anymore, because guess what? I'm still alive. I conquered death for you, and I know, guess what? We're going to step into the future together because I love you so much. He says, Mary. There's power in one word. There's no judgment from him. He just says, hey, Mary, I love you. Go tell everybody I'm alive. Go tell everybody that I'm alive, because the God of creation wants relationship with you. The God, Beth and I, we lived so close to the mountains. We were talking the other day, Beth's like, I feel the closest to God when I step into creation. Some of us, we feel that way. And it just gets me thinking, the God who created, not only created, but wants relationship with. I know like a lot of us, maybe you're in the business of creation, you create stuff, but most of us, we don't want relationship with our creation, right? Like when I create something, I create like this cool, I can't build things, but pretend I could build a table. I can't, but I pretend I can. Some people can build tables, and I think that's amazing. I go and buy a table, right? I'm not going to build, because I don't trust it. Anyway, but pretend I could build a table. I don't want a relationship with that. But God, he says, guess what? I build you, and I want you, and I love you, and I need you, and I just want relationship with you. That's what he says. And I think that is just unbelievable. The God who created loves us so, so much. And the sacrifice he made is bigger than any sacrifice that any of us will ever make. My baby this week, she had an infection. And if you know anything about babies, when they have infections, they don't sleep. Right? My biggest sacrifice I made this week was getting up with my baby at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And I was like, man, I'm a saint. Right? Like, I'm letting my wife sleep. I'm holding this crying baby. I'm not even frustrated. I'm telling you, I'm a saint. Look at me. And then I reflected and was like, I'm terrible. Look what Jesus did. I'm holding a sick baby. He's holding a broken person. I'm holding my baby. I'm telling her I love you. I love her. It's not working. I don't think she speaks English yet. But I'm telling her I love you. I love you. I love you. But that's nothing compared to the love that Jesus has for us. You know, the biggest sacrifice that we make doesn't even get close to the sacrifice that he made for you. The sacrifice he made for me. The generosity, the giving he gave for us. And when we look at it, we just say, God, we can never work to get there. We just stand here in awe of what you did. You know, Matthew 11, verse 28. This is one of my favorite verses. I love this verse. It says this. It says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. I will give you rest. Right now, I think that more than ever, I'm just going to speak vulnerably, I think that we need rest more than we ever have. I think we're walking around and we're weary and burdened. We're burdened by the stress of the world. We're burdened by the fear. We're burdened by the pain. We're weary. We're fearful. We're confused. You know, and Mary, she's in that moment, she's in the garden and she's in the same place. She's like, I just need rest. Like, I can't, I honestly don't know if she felt she could go any farther. I don't even know if she thought, like, can I even go another day? Can I even step into more? Am I going to be okay? At the beginning of that story, it says the disciples went home and Mary stayed all by herself in the garden. She's by herself. You know, this year, a lot of us, we've been by ourselves. It's just the way this year has been. We've been by ourselves. I think sometimes we feel like the only way Jesus is going to show up is when we're in a crowd. You know, the disciples left. She's sitting there alone in the garden, and she, no hope that Jesus is coming back. Like, we got to understand that too. She didn't know. She had no clue that Jesus was there. We need rest. You know, God has been so faithful to all of us. We have moments of faithfulness over and over and over again. And I want to tell you that God was faithful then. He will be faithful now. He will be faithful in this circumstance. He will be faithful in this moment. He will be faithful in our city. He will be faithful in our province, and he will be faithful in our country. He was faithful in the past. He was faithful in the pain that he's taken us out of. He was faithful when he restored your marriage the last time. He was faithful the first time that you paid off all your debt. He was faithful, and he will be faithful now. He will be faithful now because God is fueled by love for you, and he's fueled by love for me. And he wants relationship with you. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. A vacation will not give you rest. Money will not give you rest. It will for a short time, but that will never sustain you. It will never sustain you. You know, Mary, she became the first evangelist of the good news of Jesus. She was the first one. Again, the disciples had left. They had an opportunity for the same moment and they left. And Mary's sitting there and he says, go, tell my followers what I have done. Go. Mary became the first evangelist. She realized that Jesus was faithful when he cast demons out of her, but he was also faithful when he went to the cross. And the power of the cross was not just in that moment. The power of the cross was for eternity. Eternity. Not just for one moment. It's not like we have one miracle and then we say, I got my moment. Right? I got my moment. Love it. He's saying, no. Let's go into the future and know that I will be faithful now. I will be faithful then. I will be faithful. We need to remember what Jesus has done, celebrate what Jesus is doing, and anticipate what Jesus is going to do. Knowing that the power of the cross goes always into the end of time. The power of his love, the power of the cross. You know what we're going to do right now? Yeah, we're going to sing a song together. So I'm going to invite the team up. You know, this is a song that is really, it's just a song that really speaks to me. You know, the first time I heard this song, I had just resigned from my job in Calgary. And Beth and I, like, to be honest, there was so much crying because we resigned with no hope for something else. We did not know where we were going. We did not know that we were going to be here in Edmonton. We didn't know. We had no clue. We stepped out in faith. We were obedient and said, okay. So then I went to the gym that night, which is usually where I pray and get my mind right. I went to the gym and I had my headphones on and this song came on. It may have been the first time I even heard it. It's called Faithful Now. And I'm at the gym and I'm around like some pretty tough guys, right? And I'm not that tough. I'm trying not to cry in the middle of the gym, right? Like can you imagine you're like working out, some guy's like curling and all of a sudden he's just crying? You'd be like, whoa, like this guy's working out really hard, you know? Yeah. I'm trying not to cry. I'm like wiping my tears. I'm wearing a mask, right? So it's like, it just looked really weird. Like, to be honest, some people, like I don't work out there anymore, just so you guys know. But the first time I heard this song, Faithful Now, was in that moment. And I just really said, God, speak to me. He said, you know what? I've walked you through so much. And I'm going to walk you through so much more. I'm going to be walking with you. The same God who delivered the Israelites from Egypt, the same God that raised Jesus from the dead, the same God who saved your marriage last time, he lives inside of you. He lives inside of you, and the power that brought Jesus out of the grave lives within us. That means that we can overcome anything because Jesus already overcame the hardest thing to overcome, which is death, which is sin. And he's saying, I love you. I live inside of you. I want relationship with you. So let's sing this song together. Let's stand at this time too. Let's just stand and let's sing this song with our team.